All right, well, let's get into it. So your neighbour's on the phone, and you have issues with that. He's communicating with the outside world.
I have issues with the fact that I'm sitting in my house and I can hear someone on the phone. I shouldn't be able to. It's not something that should be able to happen, particularly after 3 hours of him running his fucking compressor through the fucking walls. It's driving me nuts. It's driving me insane. It's a Saturday. Go. He's
making things smaller, mate. He's making it smaller. It's better for the world, better for climate change.
He's painting a bit of his car that no one can see.
Yeah, but he loves it. You can't get in the way of love, can you? You claim to be a romantic, and yet you're trying to shout on people's love, right?
No.
Don't love the inside of cars. Don't make them purple.
It's not even the inside of his car. It's the inside of the engine bay of his car. Like, his engine might enjoy it. Apart from that, I'm not sure.
Is it the same neighbour that's usually loud?
It's the only loud neighbour. Yeah, and it's always mechanical shit. The annoying thing is that, like, I can't really rag on him because he's loud because he's being productive. Essentially, he's not loud because he's like bumming around in his backyard playing music. He's loud because he's fixing shit and hammering and making things and all of that. So it's like, it's a productive loud, but it's still fucking irritating.
And is at least like a reasonable time of day?
It is at this point.
It's loud is still loud, but like it's not like 2 a.m. kind of thing.
No, that's true. It's not like partying all night or anything like that. But then there are times when he's just as loud at like 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, and I'm just like, that's not acceptable. I don't care how productive you think you are. Go to bed.
It's the Lord's day. Stop being loud to the Lord. Sundays being sacrosanct.
Well, it's just you expect a lot of people to have lions on like a weekend, right?
Lions.
Lions. And like, even if that lion is just like 8 o'clock, like, but just to be smashing away at things in your back garden at 7 o'clock in the morning it's unacceptable.
Is this the same neighbour who threatened to call the police about me parking on the road?
Yes.
Yeah, he seemed like a very diplomatic and
reasonable,
long-fused fellow.
Yeah. Oh, and since then, all of his friends constantly park in front of our drive, and I've never said a thing because I don't care.
Maybe he's got a lot of friends in the police force, and well, if I park on his street, then the police will come and have a bigger party. He fixes
everyone's stupid cars, and they all park in front of our drive while he fixes them. I think the reason being is it's like, well, our drive's open all the way along, so technically you can still kind of squeeze out if you need to. But it's just like, it's kind of still not the point.
He could have squeezed, where I parked, he could have squeezed in.
Yeah, you're still just being a cunt.
Suburbia. This is a wonderful place.
Yeah.
Your parking and your engine colour noise. Fucking compressor. A paint compressor. I've got to make that paint small.
And it's so annoying as well because it doesn't stay on for long enough for you to get used to it. Like, it's like someone mowing their lawn for 10 seconds at a time.
Oh, I'm used to it now. Oh, it's great. Fair enough. So you're having a lovely day.
It's great.
Noisy day.
First moment of silence, and now I'm talking to you. It's great day.
Lovely. Is that famous voice of reason that just starts to flow out of the internet for you? Yeah, nearly went and did it in a car park.
Yeah,
that could be quite. We've talked about doing that before. To be fair,
it's definitely doable.
I think
with like minimal gear.
Yeah, it's only weather. I think would be the bad thing. That's the only negative I can think of. Is if it's raining, it's going to be noisy,
loud. Yeah,
but soundproof the car.
But it's a nice day. It's a great day to paint your car.
It's true. One of the best. Yeah. But yeah, you had an alright week.
Yeah. I've had a tired week because everything's opened and like back to normal hours again. So my body clock's been adjusting to try to kind of getting up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock again. But so I'm a bit hazy, but yeah. Apart from that, everything's fine. Hazy, yeah.
Everything is in like I know Top Man is open at normal hours. Are you working at Top Man, Steve?
No, I don't fit in. I don't fit into anything.
It's like the retail stuff's open. Why like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning?
Because we're in at like 6:30 to open up, and I'd like to be up for an hour before I'm out the house.
Oh, fair enough. I haven't kept track of your Tim Allening
life.
I thought there was a switch. Yeah, life. Just life in general. I've been solving the Black Lives Matter protests, and I just forgot.
Are you
about little old Steve?
Are you getting bored of the news yet?
I haven't found anything in the news, but I'm not that keyed into a lot of stuff. To be fair,
it's just
like it doesn't feel like I don't think anything news happened. Like I think it's just the same as last episode when we were recording this.
Well, it felt like for
10 days,
for a few years, like maybe sort of 5 years ago, and for a couple of years before that, 4 or 5 years ago, everything was racist. Like everything was racist. There was a new thing every day. Now this is racist, and now this is racist, and it's like, and it for a while that went away, and now it's come back, and I don't think as many people cared as they did before, except the people who really care and won't shut the fuck up about it.
So you're saying like racism's been around for a while, and people are caring less and less, apart from the people pretending to care?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I think they're tearing down statues of Thomas Jefferson now, which is like didn't he found America? Isn't he he's one of the founding fathers?
I don't know. I mean, look, you could. There's a thing going around. There was a big protest in London about people trying to protect Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
And again, it's very confusing at the moment, but there's a lot. And right, so I believe the premise was, well, I saw a lot of things online claiming that people were saying that Winston Churchill was a fascist.
Right.
And I don't know how true that was, that people believe this, but I've seen enough people that there's definitely some people who believe this.
I'm pretty sure.
And it's like, I don't know, but surely he's the worst fascist in the world.
Yeah.
To have destroyed...
Defeating the most fascist person.
Yeah, it's just, well, he's a fascist. Like, well, okay, I mean, okay, if he is, he's a bad fascist, right? Yeah. Can we go there? Is that we agree on that?
2 wrongs don't make a right. Are you sure about that? Like, I think in this instance,
I think there's quite a few dead.
Maybe they do. I mean, that's a pretty big right to have defeated Hitler.
What I mean about what I was saying before about it doesn't feel like it's a debate. Like these people, a lot of pretend social media activists. We'll call them that, because I'd say if you're a social media activist, you're different to someone who's actively being an activist and doing things. There's at least a line there. So social media activists, I think it's not a debate. They just want to scream.
Yeah.
And I'm all for screaming. And this is my one political belief, I guess, that applies to everything, is that I just don't understand inconsistency. That's all. That's my whole thing. It's just, if you say something and you openly disagree with what you are yourself saying and promoting, I don't understand. Like, I just go, I can't have that conversation with you anymore. It's like, I'm all for screaming at the world, but don't pretend like you're saying something incredibly moving and patriotic or whatever it is to your faction. Just be like, I'm just saying it because I need to vent. Like, okay, I can forgive you for that.
But most people are just like, it's. I think most people are sort of willfully disingenuous in that they're not standing for something; they're just supporting their team. Like, and
again, you could say like, I'm just blindly following it. I mean, I used to joke about I love the Queen, I love the royal family, and my whole defense was because.
Yeah,
I
remember
can defend that. I would just be like,
when we were in uni, you were always like
Queen.
quite a royalist, and I was like,
it was just for laughs. I just found it funny to blindly, loyally follow somebody, and just be open about it. Well, just cause, just fuck it, just decided one day. I'm just going to agree with everything that does.
The thing is, you were the first person I'd sort of known very well who was from the South. Like, all my friends were like Northern people. So I was just like, maybe it's just Southern people. Maybe this is just, they live closer to the Queen, so she infects their brain more than she does with us, or something.
Yeah, the radio waves from the Crown, they emit within like 20 miles or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're just open about it, it's like, look, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just saying this. And you're like, oh, I'm just doing this because of a silly reason. You go like, okay, cool. I can understand that. It's just when it's presented as something to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
You just go, oh, well, let's take it seriously then. No. Oh, well, what do you want? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's what makes me think it's not a debate. I mean, I mentioned it a bit later, but I guess it kind of ties in. There was a thing this week about a disgraced Labour Member of Parliament wrote to Kellogg's to complain about Cocoa Pops.
Okay.
That was a main story this week.
Oh, I
and
think
it was
I saw that
because
on...
Cocoa Pops has a monkey on the thing, whereas Rice Krispies has got three dwarves or whatever they are, elves or just she calls them white boys. I'm not sure whether they're the stereotypical white boys, but
I saw someone post that on Facebook, but it was written as my son came up to me and said, "Isn't it weird that Cocoa Pops have got a monkey on them?" And the Rice Krispies have got three white guys. Were his words, were the 8-year-old son's words.
It's white guys. Fucking coming along.
It's just one of those, and everybody stood up and clapped things. Like, it's fucking bullshit.
So maybe that's how she learned of it. But yeah, she just wrote to Kellogg's to have that argument. And you just go, look, this is a typical example. I go, okay, what... because I'll help you. I'm a helper. I like to help. I'm an assister. So it's like, okay, let's get your point across. Let's figure out what's going on, and let's push this. So what is your point? Well, she said something along the lines of Rice Krispies and Cocoa Pops are completely identical. They're the same cereal except for the texture and the flavor. You go, okay, so they're the same, but the flavor's different. Yeah, the flavor's different. Okay. And one's chocolate, okay, and one's not chocolate, okay. Maybe this, and one of them explodes, and one of them doesn't explode. Yeah, okay. So they're not the same, are they? I can't get behind you if what you're saying doesn't make any sense to me.
It pops a bit, but it's like that. You could make that argument about two different flavors of milkshake.
Yeah. Well, they're both milk. Okay. Maybe different types of milk. But yeah, pops a little bit maybe, but I think Rice Krispies are famous for popping, whereas Cocoa Pops are not famous for popping. So they may pop a little bit, but I'm assuming Rice Krispies pop more from memories. Sure. That used to be the case. But then I used to like Lilt, and then Lilt changed its flavour, so I don't know whether, Cocoa Pops did the same thing. Maybe Cocoa Pops were popping off in the 90s, and then they slowly slowed down.
Well, they tried to go to Choco Krispies for a while, and everyone revolted.
Yes, the American brand, isn't it? Well, the American name for the brand.
Is it? Is that what it is?
Try to bring it over. Yeah, like that was a cultural divide, was people going, there's no monkey on Cocoa Krispies or Choco Rocks or whatever. It's a bird. And they're like, well, in America, it's, Choco Krispies or whatever. Or
over
Cocoa
here,
Krispies.
It's a monkey. And it's not a monkey because black people. It's a monkey because kids like monkeys.
Yeah, or you just... It's a cartoon. It's like I'd help you. What's your point? Is it that it's the same and it's just marketed towards different demographics, or are you saying that because it's brown we have to use a monkey for it? Because then you go, okay, well let's remove all monkeys from all brown brands. I guess is that what you want? Would that fix your problem?
Yeah.
No. Okay, so it's an emotional problem or it's a political problem that you're just trying to. If you're going to do that, then fine. That's how ideas come about. But don't just say that. Well, this is it. Case closed. Like, case closed.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that. But there's a little bit of a thing that goes on here, which is why I brought this up. Which is the owner. Right. So this is the paragraph. John Harvey Kellogg was one of the co-founders of the Race Betterment Foundation in 1906.
Okay.
Which is a eugenics project to stop races mixing for fear it will dirty the bloodline.
Okay.
So that's Kellogg.
Right. But when was this?
This was 1906, so like just the other day. Right. And you just go, and again, you go, okay, right. This information has come to light. Maybe we publicize that more. And you go, right, that guy was wrong. You could maybe even go to the length of saying that guy was evil if you believe that strongly in it. So okay, I'm all for that. But then why? I mean, he's dead, right? I'm assuming he's dead if he founded a company in 1906.
In 1906,
and he lived off of chocolate rice. He's not going to live that long. So I mean, there's that other fact or whatever, that cornflakes was an anti-masturbatory campaign. So the guy had some weird ideas, and it resulted in cereal. So you didn't hear about that?
I vaguely, but I still don't know
stop
how.
masturbation.
I still
because the flavor is so bland that it doesn't excite anything. I think it was basically the idea. So you go, look, okay, right. If you want to demonize this guy for co-founding a racist organization or campaign or whatever, I'm all for that. Fuck that guy. But I don't understand the logic of not buying Cheerios and thinking that is damaging a dead guy.
Yeah.
Like, I can't make that jump. If you want to publicize that the guy who founded Kellogg's was a bad guy, then okay, let's do that. But that doesn't mean that the current company Kellogg's is a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's just, you're just trying to make that fit this, and it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So people, like, anybody who's, like, advocating against Kellogg's Rice Krispies or whatever it is, you just go, like, I don't understand your, what do you want out of this? What do you want?
Yeah. Well, wasn't it, like,
because it just doesn't go anywhere.
There was a brown rabbit on Nesquik as well. And, like, it seems to me that your mascot represents the flavor or whatever of the thing that you're selling.
Looks like what you're eating.
Frosties,
kind of
a tiger,
same color as
orange.
the food.
Like, it's...
Yeah. And people coming up with the mascot idea are probably looking at the product and being like, what can we twin with this?
Yeah.
To try and make it kind of thing. I don't know. But this did have a knock-on effect to other brands that I found. That led me to reminded me of this. So Uncle Ben's Rice is changing its icon as well.
Again,
they're removing. Again, yeah. They're removing that, which is, I didn't know, but Uncle Ben's is owned by Mars Incorporated. Which just sounds like an evil corporation.
Yeah.
So Mars Incorporated, the parent companies, incorporate. Not only are we another planet, but we've also, capitalized it. The parent company said in a release that as a global brand, we know we have a responsibility to take a stand in helping to put an end to racial bias and injustices.
Do you?
Injustices. Well, they make rice, mate. I mean... top tier,
right?
And even then, I go, okay, this makes sense. You could argue that everybody has a responsibility to take a stand for what they believe in and to fight for what's right. Okay, cool. Racism has no place in society. We stand in solidarity with the black community, our associates, and our partners in the fight for social justice. I'd remove social and just say just the fight for justice. Social justice is a weird, vague term. Mars said, we know to make the systemic change needed, it's going to be a collective effort from all of us, just placating words here, individuals, communities, and organizations of all sizes around the world. And we're going to do this by changing the icon from Uncle Ben, which was... And what is so wrong about having different demographics on brands?
Yeah.
If it seems to be effective. I don't understand how microwavable rice is meant to be... Oh, that's the real evil of racism.
It's like, I think if you have to look into it that much to figure out why it's racist, then you're kind of thinking about things too hard. Like, I remember when I was a kid, there was a brand of, like, jam or marmalade or something like that, and it literally had a gollywog on it. And it was like, okay, yeah, I can... Yeah. Get rid of that shit. Sort that fucking out right now. But then the Uncle Ben thing was like a guy in a bowler hat or something. Like, it was a black suit and it was a white face and it was a cartoon of a man in a bowler hat. And it was like, well, that's obviously a slave owner or something like that. It was really just something really odd like that. And then they changed it a few years ago because they said that was racist. They changed it to just not a caricature, but sort of an illustration of a black guy. And this black guy was now Uncle Ben. So they did a complete 180 of being like, well, it was a white guy in a bowler hat, and now it's a black guy that makes rice. I'm like, okay, I guess.
Rice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I mean, it hasn't changed my opinion of what your crappy food tastes like in the slightest. Like, it's still garbage food for garbage people. It doesn't make any fucking difference, but it's just...
But it just got like, it's just the... So what, racists aren't using Uncle Ben's rice? Is that the argument? Are you saying that because there's a black guy promoting or being the symbol of a microwavable food, is that negative in some way?
Yeah.
Or is it just you don't like drawings of people because a lot of people don't like drawings of monkeys or drawings of this, and you go,
yeah,
again, I want to bat for you, I want to help, but I just can't see what it is you're trying to hit. I think Aunt Jemima was she was a gollywog at one point. I think it's like a maple syrup or a marmalade or something.
Yeah,
like
that one was like...
And they had that changed. That's been removed as well, because now it's just a similar to Uncle Ben, but it's a woman, I think.
Well, didn't they...
So they're changing that as well.
The Aunt Jemima racism claim was the same as the woman in Tom and Jerry, wasn't it? Because that was said to be a racist thing because she was like a housemaid or something like that. And the way that she talked and the way that she acted was stereotypically black for a woman
like a southern drawl.
Was a housemaid at the time or something like that. And they said that was racist. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that and the Aunt Jemima thing
they did
were
change the voice
similar things
of the Tom and Jerry woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the argument is that the system is racist, therefore we have to change the system.
Yeah.
It just feels like going through and removing all black people from food products, or at least these two examples, just feels like, I guess you're changing the system, but it feels like you're really kind of skirmishing around the idea of what's going on. I can't figure it out.
It seems fundamentally illogical for your whole worldview to be about altering things externally rather than altering them internally, because you can be in full control of yourself and your own faculties and the way that you kind of operate in life. But if you have to alter the world, like the world around you, to fit your view, then it's going to be an ongoing, ever-moving process, and you're never ever going to be satisfied with it. It's never going to be fixed, because even once everything's equal, there's no such thing. There's always going to be there's always going to be something, and it's just this consistent, constant dragging down of everything until there's nothing. I don't see how it can work.
Well, it's the same argument as the wage gap, right? It's like, if you believe that women are getting paid less than men, then why aren't people doing something about it?
Mm.
And the reason is because they say, well, the answer is for the system to start paying women more. And the system goes, okay, let's look into this. And they look at the information, they go, oh, we don't think there needs to be a change. So then it's just people yelling about how corrupt the system is, rather than trying to figure out how to fix it themselves.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with, I can't do anything. It's the same as procrastination, I guess. I can't do anything until X, Y, Z. Yeah. It's like, well, but if you genuinely feel like this, then why don't you go forth and do something? It's like, no. I'm just a person. You go, well, if you're a person who believes something and wants change, then just go forth and do something. I'm all for it. It's just in order to get to that bridge, they have to start figuring out what they actually believe, and that is, as I've experienced, is a difficult and long process of trying to understand a complex topic, which takes time and energy to go through and ask all the right questions and figure out all the right answers to be like, okay, yeah, this is what I definitely believe. And I'm going to enforce that. Then you've got to figure out how to enforce it. So it's just easier to say, Uncle Ben is a massive racist. Yeah. Or this microwavable rice is evil. You're like, I think you're venting your frustration without having to take on the responsibility and the pressure of actually trying to fix something.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a strange attitude to feel that you can get to a point with yourself where you're like, no, I'm happy. I don't need to develop anymore. So now I can change everything else. Like, I think that's just it's misguided, and at worst it's misguided. At best it's misguided. Sorry. At worst it's just fucking arrogant. Like the idea that you know best because you've worked completely on yourself. You've worked on yourself to completion. Like, I'm the best I can possibly be now. So now all that's left to do is change everything else. Like, it's.
I think it's as well. It's this feeling of being looked after, or your destiny lies in other people's hands. Of like, the reason that I'm getting paid less is because the world is evil, or the reason that I'm feeling this way is because of the world treating me a certain way. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people like myself come to the conclusion of like, the world's a horrible place. It's going to make you feel horrible.
Yeah.
If you're going to rely on waiting for the world to fix your problems, you're never going to have your problems fixed. You need to figure out how to do it yourself. And that means, and that's a long journey. It's not as easy as like, oh, well, okay, I'll just stop doing this and I'll start doing this and everything's fixed. You go, no, it's like a whole quest of trying to figure out what to do with your life. Yeah. And I think people just go like, well, it's easier just to complain until something changes. And it just feels like, if this is you can't be happy with this change. But I'm sure, again, I know people who will be happy. Well, we put up a good fight and now Uncle Ben's rice is now called, I don't know, just rice.
Yeah.
And I'd prefer that, to be fair, more simplified.
Yeah.
Just eggs are eggs. Yeah. Eggs 1, right? And then everyone gets a number, and then you figure out which eggs you like. And I'll have eggs 5, please. It just seems simpler. It just seems weird. But again, could just be for marketing reasons, I guess, this whole controversy.
Yeah.
It goes on. Uncle Ben's was founded by converted brand rice. So it was called... I'm thinking of starting up a company of rice. What are you going to call it? Converted brand rice. Brand in the title. By co-founders Eric Husenlaub and Gordon Harwell. The name Uncle Ben began being used in the 40s after Harwell and his business partner discussed a famed Texas farmer referred to as Uncle Ben, who was known for his rice. So the name was based off of a famous rice farmer.
Okay.
I genuinely didn't know that they farmed rice that much in Texas. But I guess farmers farm everywhere. The image of the black man on the box was modelled after Frank Brown, a waiter at the restaurant where they had the idea. So it was just like a sketch of, we need Uncle Ben, he looks family friendly.
Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of a different character. I don't know.
Well, this was in the 40s.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was founded in the 40s, but they started the Uncle Ben in the 40s.
Yeah.
But critics have pointed out the problematic use of a black man to be the face of a white company. Critics have pointed out the problematic use of a black man to be the face of a white company. So you can't. So the icon of the brand has got to be representative of either the people working at the company or the people who own the company, I think is what they're saying, right?
So that's the problem with Cocoa Pops. The guy who owns Kellogg's isn't a monkey.
And I can't get behind it. I don't understand that, right?
It's silly.
Because then I guess what that feels like is just a really reactive comment of like, they've got a black man on the box, but it's owned by whites. You're like, okay, so I mean, what do we do with that? Do you like the rice? Oh yeah, I love the rice. Okay, but you hate looking at the rice. No, I love looking at the rice, but it's controversial, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, but the white guys profiting from the black guys. But the cartoon didn't make the rice, right? Like, what's the microwave technology? I don't know. It wasn't. I don't know. Should they change their icon if they get bought by
would you have a problem,
a Filipino company?
Would you have a problem with a black guy franchising KFC?
It's just
probably
you're
not
putting so much importance on a mascot.
Yeah.
Like, it should be on the team, right? You should be focusing on the team rather than the mascot.
Yeah.
Just seemed, just makes sense. Noting that black men were often referred to as boys or uncle to avoid calling them Mr. during the Jim Crow era. So I think calling him Uncle Ben was a culturally racist term because they didn't want to call him Mr. Ben.
Right.
So they called him Uncle. But he could also be someone's uncle. And it was maybe the famed farmer was being referred to as Uncle Ben in a racist way.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm trying.
I don't know.
I'm really trying.
It was Home Pride that I was thinking of, not Uncle Ben's. The white guy in a bowler hat, that was Home Pride.
The mayonnaise? Or the sauce, isn't it? Home Pride,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that weird marshmallow-looking man with the hat. I know him.
Yeah, no, Uncle Ben's has always been a black guy, apparently.
Yeah, well, I know they're trying to make sense, and this is obviously they're trying to evoke change, and you go, okay, the change that they're trying to evoke, is it worth it? Is it going to solve the problem? No. Okay, but is it still relevant? Maybe. Let's have a look into, and then just how are you meant to avoid this problem recurring in the future?
Yeah.
And I guess it's just whoever owns the company needs to have a racial mirror on the mascot of the sauce.
Give it a few months and it's just going to be Ben's, and there's not going to be any picture on it or anything. It's just going to be Ben's rice. And then there'll be an argument as to why the name Ben is racist.
And just as a stance
and
against
everyone
racism,
in the world named Ben will have to change their name.
It just feels like a weird stand. Like, this is their stand against racism. They've Mars Incorporated have said that racism has no place and we need to make a stand.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to do. We're going to rebrand and remarket. Okay? I don't think there's going to be less racism in the world because of this. It just feels like a strange thing to push, I guess. Seems odd.
Well, I don't get the kind of pressuring companies to do this stuff. It's like, I mean, unless they're purposefully being overtly racist, which they're obviously not being, because they wouldn't survive in the industry. Like, their stocks would tank and the whole place would go out of business, because that's just how it goes. Like, if you disagree with it, just don't buy it.
It's just an extremist way
racist.
of finding recruitment. It just feels like, said before, like it's like there's a load of factions going on, and there's such an extreme way of being like trying to find somebody who agrees with you and ousting someone who doesn't. You'd be like, oh yeah, he probably eats Uncle Ben's rice, the fascist. Like what? Like it's I don't understand. I mean, like it used to be veganism, right? It was the stereotypical extreme clique of like, if you don't do this, then get out, or if you believe in this, then you're not really
kind of
a vegan. Well, kind of, but I think it's been more and more like publicized of like, there's actual like cultural vegans, like societies that just don't really eat meat or dairy. Yeah. It's just part of their culture. They've done it and they don't really brag about it. It's just a way of life. So it's become more and more publicized that like there's just ordinary people who have this dietary custom or this dietary choice, but these people making it political, you just go, I don't understand. Like you must be so lonely. Like, and I don't mean that as it's mean it as like you're so desperately trying to push people away or align yourself with people that you must be looking for one or the other. You must be trying to figure something out. And it's like, if you keep on pushing people away because they eat blue Smarties or they eat honey or they eat eggs or whatever it is, if you're fighting that war, then the people around you who think that is the war aren't going to be the most comforting of people, I guess. It's a strange... Oh yeah, I mean, have you kept up with Chaz?
I did in the first week or so, like, because it was just fucking ridiculous. I'm not up to the minute up to date on it. I think I got to the point where they created segregation on like day 4 or something, where they created, they made farms and they said this farm is for the black people and this one's for the white people. It's like that's segregation, guys. Right? And like day 2 there was a warlord and like it's just a mess. The best thing that they could do is just let it play out and let them all destroy each other, and then you can be like, look, that's why we don't do this, and everything will go back to normal. Yeah, well, I mean, this kind of things happened before, right? I mean, and it's just Russia. I mean, Oregon, I think, was Russia did it
Oregon,
on like a massive scale and killed millions of people.
No, but Oregon, there's always the odd people who go like, "This is my commune, get out."
Yeah.
And there was like police standoffs, like I think within the last 12 months, and it just kind of gets people just go, "Oh, this doesn't really work, I guess," or whatever. And it seems the same. I love that they've called it Chaz. I think that's the best name for it.
Yeah.
Like it's like Capitol Hill something zone, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I always forget what the A means.
Good guy, whatever, with a good guy range. Aryans?
I always forget what the A means.
The Aryan zone.
The A.
Same. Yeah, it means something. But yeah, it's Chaz, and it's 6 blocks of America that's been taken over, apparently.
Yeah.
And when you say taken over, like, I haven't kept up to date with much of it. I've just seen little bits and bobs that just seem funny. But yeah, the police haven't, like, tried to get them out.
No.
Like, the mayor of Seattle, I think, has been like, we are in agreement with this. So the local police aren't doing anything.
It's a great way to lose your seat in office. So just go for it, because I don't think it's going to go down well with the business owners and with the law-abiding citizens who are still being like hounded by police for breaking the law. Like, how come we can't break the law, but these people can? How come they get to take over half the fucking city and have no job and pay no taxes while we fix all the fucking roads for them? Like, it doesn't. It's a great way to fucking destroy your campaign and get yourself ousted from office, because that's what's going to fucking happen.
But it's just interesting. It's so much like child versus parent.
Yeah,
it's just so much like that, right? It's like, I don't have to live here. I'm going to move out. Like, okay, where are you going to live? I'm going to live in a hotel. Okay, well, you can't afford it, and what are you going to do? And what's the deal? And this isn't. We're trying to help, and you can't see that we're trying to help.
Yeah.
And your argument for, I mean, there was a quote recently about this whole argument for defunding the police, which is remove the police are funded much more than other public services in a lot of states. So the argument is because they're funded so much, that's why they're brutalizing the innocent.
Well, that's not a thought out argument at all.
Well, you just go, well, how do you solve it? Like, what if you remove the funding for it? Is that just going to all go away? It might, if the funding was being done badly, maybe. But I think it was Jocko Willink said, like, you should have more money for more training for these people, so that they're better prepared and they're better understood, and that costs money. So we should put more money into it. And you go, that makes sense, right? Of just. Yeah, these people get 4 hours a year of training.
Yeah,
you should give them weekly training.
That's ridiculous. Like, the amount of contact and responsibility that you have as a police officer to not only apprehend suspects but to also keep them safe at the same time, and you're trained for 4 hours a year to do that. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But you just go like, well, if you're so, but again, people don't. It's not thought through. They're not thinking through. If we remove the money, then the police are going to be more pleasant. Because you could go, well, part of the police budget will be salaries, right? Should we give police officers pay cuts? Oh, that's a discussion. But do you think people getting paid less is going to make them more reasonable?
Yeah,
I don't know. They're gonna be struggling to make ends meet. There's going to be more stress in their lives. Then they might. It doesn't feel feel like a solution.
They already have trouble attracting people to that job. It would get so much worse if they did that. Like, I understand the idea of reform. Reform totally makes sense. And every company, every business should be in a constant state of reform in some respect. You should always be looking to make things more efficient and figure out where you're going wrong and how you can fix things. Particularly if you're serving the public like that on such like a massive scale. Like, reform should be a constant thing. And particularly now that it's in the spotlight, it seems like a very good time to do it and to start doing that. But you're not going to reform such a massive thing by taking money away from it. Like, that's not thought out. But it doesn't make any sense.
But just go through figure out what the example is, and you go like, okay, say you work out that is an option that you think could work. It's not the only option. We can look at many different options to try and figure out what to do. It's just, I guess it's the belief that money is evil, and they're paying these people to have all these weapons to use on people. And you go like, if you want to argue for removing the weapons, sure, we can have that conversation. But it becomes more and more complex, and it's just people seem unwilling to go through the whole conversation. They just want to, I say this statement, and if you disagree with me, then it's over. We're not having this conversation.
Yeah.
It's the same as I can't remember the example we gave, but yeah, Uncle Ben's is incredibly racist, and if you disagree with me, well, then I'm not going to marry you. Okay.
All right.
All right. This conversation's over. It's a weird job interview. It's just like a start. It's like
so no rice at the wedding.
Barrier to entry.
We'll go with pasta. That's fine.
Yeah. It's all got to be like actually cooked rice instead of microwaved rice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I guess that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's odd. I understand that people are angry. It's just, just seems like a strange. It just seems strange to put up walls in front of yourself. But it's human nature, I guess, isn't it? People have always done it and will always do it. But my solution to that has always been, well, everyone's an idiot, so you have to take like everybody with a pinch of salt and be like, you're just working through something. But the fact that they're trying, people are trying to supporting it just feels like it just seems like ill-guided.
Did you see
I don't think you're going to be happy with how it goes.
Speaking of ill-guided, did you see the stuff from Chaz about the homeless people?
Vaguely, were they attacked?
No, it was like I think it was either the first day or the second day. All the kids came in and they're like, well, we're going to do it better. We're going to take care of the homeless. So they took all the homeless in to like wherever they were staying, like the hotels or something, and put all the food out, which was the food for everybody. And all the homeless people took the food and left because they're homeless and fuck these people. And then the kids sent out messages on Twitter to people in the outside world asking for food. And it wasn't just can people bring food. It was food, preferably vegan substitutes, meat-free meats and soy products. It's like, go fuck yourselves. Like that's what planet are you living on? How fucking entitled are you? It's a bunch of people who have no world experience at all.
Well, it's just people not taking it seriously. They're taking it angrily. I guess that's the way I would phrase it. Is they're not thinking about things. They're just channeling anger.
Well, I was watching Tim Pool covering it, and Tim Pool said they're all LARPing, basically. Like this isn't like real life to them. It's all just like it's a big game. There's no real consequence to it. Or if there is, they don't see it and they're not acknowledging it. Like they're just kids and they're all playing a game.
Yeah, they just want to be known as I was there when that happened.
Yeah,
it's like it's a weird. But it's just like I don't get too invested in it because I just go because people are stupid. It's just. Not that that's not a negative. It's just I think that's just a fact of life that people are misguided and make mistakes and go through and do things. It's just be consistent and be sure of what you believe when you start preaching it and just and be forgiving of people. That's the big thing for me. Like the Kellogg's thing, you'd be like, well, that guy was bad, but you should forgive the 2020 Kellogg's Corporation. Like, I don't think trying to attack them for race crimes about their owner in the 1906 is a logical thing. It's just, you're just angry. That's the Liam Neeson effect of like, you're blaming Kellogg's for something that this guy did in 1906. I understand the jump, but you can't say that what you're doing is wise and thought through. You'd be like, just stop, figure out how to put your powers to better use, I guess. Which you did this week, didn't you? I saw this.
Did I?
You made a post, in Bengali, actually, about BuzzFeed.
What?
I posted a comment. You wrote a BuzzFeed has closed for some reason. I can't remember. And you typed, na 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 na. Na 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 na, and Facebook translated that into Bengali for me because I thought it was weird because it just said no 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 no. I was like, oh,
it's Steve really likes BuzzFeed.
It just written like broken up, and it was like rate this translation. It was nah. Nah. All right. Cheers. And there's an option to never translate anything on Facebook to Bengali. Which I thought was funny. Well, we'll never have this problem again. Just stop translating Steve into Bengali, please.
This is where we've been going wrong.
Yeah. All your Facebook statuses are in other languages.
Yes. They don't eat couscous in Bengal.
Yeah. But you could rate the translation. I rated it 5 stars because I can understand everything. And it was just like, I did understand it. I can't fault it for...
No.
Yeah. This is great. Best translation I've ever read.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe that's the problem. In actual news, actually at my notes, I mentioned last week that China's been invading India, and should look into it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's been conflicts, actual fights.
I heard that some people have died, but it's been very quiet for something that involves such two massive populations.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, because it is very interesting, because I think, and I'm very stupid, but I think India and China have had tension for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, a long time there's been tension, to the point where they've agreed that they won't carry their armies won't have weapons. So what happened was, China's is going into the Himalayas. They're going, which is not their territory, and they came across Indian soldiers on patrol in their territory, and so they had a fight, but it was an unarmed fight.
Oh.
So people were like throwing stones and like punches and stuff like that, and because it was in the Himalayas, lots of people fell to their death.
Oh,
because you're on a fucking mountainside. But just, I can't think of anything more cartoonish than two powerhouses, two global superpowers having a war, but it just being throwing punches
with rocks.
I'll read through the article because I seem to remember it being quite good. India has reacted with shock and caution to the loss of at least 20 soldiers on its disputed border with China. The killings were sparked when a patrol of Indian soldiers encountered Chinese troops in a steep section of the mountain region they believed the People's Liberation Army had retreated from. The PLA. I don't know who they are. I'm assuming it's not China, but maybe it is. They'd retreated from. And if you retreat, there must have been a conflict before, so maybe they were chasing something up. In line with a 6th of June disengagement agreement. Okay, so there was an agreement to retreat, and they retreated. The Indian government have alleged that what followed was a premeditated ambush on their troops by the People's Liberation Army. So there was an ambush without guns. So just out of the mountains, jumped. Then an Indian... the two armies jostled and hand-to-hand fighting broke out, neither side armed, in line with decades of tradition, supposed to ward off the possibility of escalation between the nuclear-armed neighbours. So there's been decades of this agreement of, like, don't carry weapons in case you start shooting the Chinese or the Indians.
Right.
Because it's going to result in nuclear war. So instead, an Indian commanding officer was pushed from the narrow ridge and fell to his death in the gorge. This is where I like it. Reinforcements from the Indian side were summoned from a post about 2 miles away, and eventually 600 men... 600 men were fighting with stones, iron rods, and other makeshift weapons. Like a playground fight, You're like, oh, it's all kicking off in the fucking playground.
In the Himalayas.
But it's all kicking off. But they're global nuclear superpowers. Throwing stones, iron rods. I found a bit of metal, mate. We're golden. Throw it like a javelin, Clive.
I found this in the tank. Why don't you use a tank? I'm not allowed to use a tank.
Yeah. Not allowed, mate. It's tradition. We don't use tanks no more. And in near total darkness, so it was at night time, so like pitch black. Just like, I think I heard something. Throw a rock over there. Global nuclear superpowers. Indian government sources said, with most deaths on both sides occurring from soldiers falling or being knocked off the mountain. Oh, God. At least 4 more Indian soldiers were said to be in critical condition. Indian media outlets said intelligence sources claim up to 50 Chinese soldiers may have been killed in the melee, but did not present the evidence. China's choosing not to release that information for fear it will escalate tensions, is what they're saying.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't want to stoke public mood, which I guess kind of, one, you don't want to, if you did have more casualties, you probably won't be great, but I understand that, I hope the intent of it is like, look, let's not make it into a competition and let's avenge the Himalayan 50 or whatever it is. You know, it's just like, no, it's just something happened. It's fine. It's just silly. Thank God they didn't have guns, because 600 people shooting with guns in the dark on a mountain would have been worse. But yeah, just fucking hand-to-hand war. Maybe it's the future.
Well, what there was? I can't remember who said it. It was someone famous. But they said, I don't know what weapons will be used in World War III, but World War IV will be fought with sticks. And it was the idea that like that everything's just going to be destroyed, whatever's next, which is right if it's like nuclear. I can't remember who said it, but I was like, yeah, that's probably about right. But maybe we could do World War III with sticks.
Iron rods, stones.
Yeah.
Just people bumping into each other. I mean, it seems strange in this day and age that there is border, what do they call it? Disputed borders. I mean, how much of the Himalayas do you want? I mean, I guess land is important always, right? But you go, well, this is how conflict starts. So everyone kind of agreed on one thing.
It all started with the Battle of Sticks and Stones,
II, wasn't it? Yeah. And falling to your death.
Yeah.
But that was apparently the thing that led to World War II, right? Was after World War I, borders were drawn for Germany, and it was unrealistically small.
Right.
So that led to resentment, that led to wanting to grow, that led to all that kind of stuff. So it's always, I guess borders can always be kind of rough and annoying, but yeah. Good on, I think if everyone in the world chose to have a tradition of not fighting wars with guns, I think the world would be a much more brilliant place.
Well, I think much less people would fight. I think once you're confronted with the idea like, oh, I don't get like a proper weapon, I have to go in and be a man about this. Most people don't want to do it.
Well, I've heard there's a YouTuber I watch for like historical videos called Lindy Beige, who's really quite good. It's just like a mini lecture, a mini chat about nerdy historical war stuff.
Yeah.
But he made a good point about stuff like post-traumatic stress disorder and the trauma of war nowadays was probably a lot less prevalent hundreds of years ago.
I thought
because it's so much more stressful now, because just in World War II, like you could be standing having a conversation with a friend in a safe area, and then a bullet comes from 2 miles away and kills him or you. That's going to put you on edge.
Yeah.
And then suddenly everything explodes. You're like, it would be very different when you were in like an archer or a shield bearer. Just like, yeah, I'm here with my friends. You know, we don't want to hurt anybody. It's just, we kind of have to do this for a bit.
Yeah.
And, we won. Hooray.
But that's the thing, like, battles and things like that didn't last that long. Certainly not when
compared to... And they weren't that huge.
No. Like, when you think, like, trench warfare, that was years.
Yeah, of, like, being bombed and, like, just on edge the whole time. So, like, yeah, if you remove the guns and the artillery and stuff, it could be a better place.
Yeah.
It's just so unbelievable. I couldn't believe it happened.
He fell off the Himalayas.
They were ambushed by people without weapons. That's the first rule, right? In the People's Liberation Army. I don't get a weapon. Oh, it's an iron rod. All right, well, fair enough. In other similar news, Poland accidentally invaded the Czech Republic last month. Just
What?
We had this before. We had one before about a guy who got drunk and stole a tank.
Yes.
And I think it was in Poland, or he went into Poland, or he went out of Poland, or something like this. But this one was genuinely the Polish army thought they owned this church. Oh. And the church was in the Czech Republic. So there was there was a border, right? And it was basically, the border was this stream or this river and a bridge. And just after the bridge was a church and that was the Czech Republic and the Polish border. And so Czech people were trying to go to the church, and the Polish army was like, no, this is Polish. Which is a declaration. That's a declaration of war, right? I mean, it's sad.
Yeah.
We've expanded Poland's territory by about 5 meters.
Yeah.
We're the People's Front of Judea. You know, it's just like claiming it for their country, for their fatherland. Polish troops guarding the frontier as part of coronavirus measures. Okay, so they were guarding the border to stop people coming in and out because of quarantine. Seized a chapel on the Czech side of the border, and they stayed there for several days. And I'm assuming they either thought it was part of theirs, or it was just bored and like, we're tired of standing on this bridge. That building on the other side will stay in that, and at least it's shelter or whatever.
Yeah. But
when they started preventing the Czech from using it, I guess it becomes something a little bit dodgy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they had to phone the army. Like, there's the Polish are here. Can you retreat to your army, please?
Yeah.
What? Your army's invaded us, please.
Can you bring more Bibles? We've got guests.
Poland has described the incident as a mistake. However, the Czech Foreign Ministry has said it has yet to receive an official explanation.
Yeah.
Because, it could just be dumb fucks, but it could also be being entitled, like, no, we're instead of standing on this bridge, we're going to go and occupy that building and use that to sort something out. Could just be being rude. How rude. Speaking of rude, lastly from me, in coronavirus news, hundreds have tested positive for COVID-19 in a German slaughterhouse.
Okay.
So, why are they in this slaughterhouse? I just like the headline. It's a pretty boring thing, but I just like the idea of this glossing over the idea that Germany is housing hundreds of people inside slaughterhouses.
Yeah.
It just seems a little bit more suspect.
How very German.
1,000 workers. More than 1,000 workers were tested, so people just working at this German slaughterhouse, which is still quite alarming, right? I mean, if a Germans of like these people working in a slaughterhouse, which are dealing with food that you're going to deal with, is going to be.
You'd think there'd be more measures taken.
Yeah, well, they tested them, and it's a symptomless disease. There's only so far you can really expect to go, really, but yeah, it's still testing positive, it seems. But apparently the surface theory of like, if you touch a door and then someone else's touches that same door, they can catch it. Apparently that's been debunked a little bit. It's mainly just person to person.
So it's just on your breath or whatever.
Yeah, you just same way that the flu, you're coughing it on somebody. Yeah. Like the sun will burn most of the disease apparently, if you leave it on the road or something like that.
Right. Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, it still seems everyone's bored of it by now. But we'll see.
Yeah, everyone's kind of just wanting to get back to normal. I heard on the news there were like massive queues outside of Primark. I was like, it was bad enough being in Primark. Why would you want to queue outside of it?
Well, I just simply don't understand it. Like anybody who either you really need to get clothes now. And I'm assuming that means it's for an event. There's no events.
Yeah.
But assuming you need it now, you're not allowed to try on the clothes. Like you can't just go in and start putting clothes on to try. So you have to know your size going in. And if you know that, then just order them online. Just order it online. It'll be easier. But I think there's a whole culture of going shopping that I don't really really understand.
It's a pastime.
But standing in queue for 3 hours? Like, is that shopping? Is that, I don't know.
No, that's shit.
An excuse to meet up with someone, I guess.
Yeah,
but me and my friend always go shopping, so we'll go. Like, okay, fair enough.
We'll just go for a walk.
Odd. Yeah, but you're not losing. I don't know. Like I say, it's a whole culture that I just don't understand. I understand shopping a little bit if I wanted. Like when I was younger, I used to be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get clothes," Now I just order green shirts. So it's just, it's just like, I understand it maybe, but it's not, I'm not connected to it at all anymore.
No.
But yeah, I think in 2 weeks from today, or the beginning of July, they're starting to open up some of the other services. So we'll see how that goes. You see the gyms that are opening in California, maybe?
Oh, no.
Yeah, very Dexter. Very clear plastic sheeted boxes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, with just
Either
people
do
inside
it
these
or
pods.
Don't be stupid. They should just.
Well, it's just. Yeah.
I'm
interested. 2 weeks from the protests will be the interesting figure.
Yeah.
Because I think, as much as I believe coronavirus and that your social distance and everything, I think it would be hard for society to argue if there hasn't been any spread.
Yeah.
After all of these large protests.
Public gatherings, like huge.
Yeah. And I think that could be the case, and still coronavirus is around and you need to still social distance. It could have just been everyone was lucky, or, it was because of the precautions that we're able to do it. But if it turns out that there aren't any, I think it's going to be,
it could just be
very
that
interesting.
The majority of people
situation.
will get it, and the majority of people will be asymptomatic.
Yeah.
Like, if it's been here since November or whenever it was meant to have actually been here from, like, I mean, that's a fair chunk of time now for it to, and it's not like it takes a lot for it to pass from person to person.
You see, Stephen Crowder did a change my mind on it.
I don't watch him. He annoys me. I don't necessarily disagree with him. I just don't like the way he operates. I don't think I find him disingenuous. I like the idea. Well, yeah, I don't like him either. I think the way that he argues is somewhat manipulative, or a crowd pleasing or whatever. But I like the idea of the change my mind. So I think that's definitely I think it's a premise that you can't really argue with. No.
It's just like, we're just going to have the discussion. So yeah, he had a discussion about COVID figures. COVID death figures are inflated.
Right.
And it makes the point of, if you die of any cause and you have coronavirus, you are ticked as a coronavirus death.
Well, that's already been said.
Okay, that's an interesting point.
That's already been said by a bunch of people in the medical industry, where it's like, if we say it's coronavirus, we get more money. So we just say that's
basically his premise. Was like, I think people have been saying this. Am I wrong? Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
But so it's definitely becoming more and more not debunked, but more more against it in the public eye. I think there's more and more people being like if there's no new cases because of this, all these protests and marches, you go like, I think everyone's gonna say fuck you and do it and do whatever.
Yeah, you get to a certain point where you're like, well, how much can we kind of damage the economy before that realistically starts affecting more lives than the virus would have?
Yeah, and that was an argument for a while, is like the mental health diseases that have grown because of this outweigh the deaths of the vulnerable.
Yeah, but not just that. Like, you're cutting the chain of supply. People are losing their jobs, so you're sending them into poverty, and it's like, you can't realistically say, well, the government will just pay for everybody, because that's not how the fucking world works.
And again, that's an example of a potentially controversial argument. I go, hey, if you believe that the vulnerable should be sacrificed in order for the greater good, I can understand that argument.
I don't think the vulnerable should be sacrificed, but I think we need to be realistic about who is and isn't vulnerable. I don't think I'm vulnerable, and I don't think anybody else like me is particularly vulnerable. Like, at this age or whatever, by all means, protect people who are weak, protect people who have illnesses, protect people who are old. But that's not most of the population. If you were to spend your time concentrating on them and putting measures in for them and whatever, and letting everybody else just get back to work and start producing money so that those people can be supported, then I think things would probably clear up much quicker than they will.
Right, so is that what you're saying, of like, instead of social distancing, invest money in protecting the specific group of people? Like the people
who are more likely to be affected by it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I guess it becomes
seems like it would cost less in the long run.
More.
Yeah, it seems like it would cost less to protect that sector of people in the long run than it would to try and put cotton wool around everybody and just see how it goes.
But then I guess people who don't know that they're vulnerable, they haven't discovered that, it's still going to result in more fringe case of people dying from it because we're kind of letting the disease thrive.
Perhaps.
It's a case of
we're still stumbling around in the dark now. We still don't really know how many people have and haven't got it. Like the Chinese
army and the Indian army.
Yeah, we're still throwing sticks and stones at this virus. And
on a mountain.
Yeah, on a mountain, yeah. And the odd person falls off, but most of us don't even know it's there.
Yeah.
I think we need a reasonable idea as to how far it's spread and to how many people are actually asymptomatic. And we need to be able to test enough people to figure out how much of that is the case before we can say how dangerous it actually is.
But yeah, that's the time frame, isn't it? It's that's going to be in a year's time. So it's what do we do in the meantime? It's can just everybody... and it is reasonable to expect people to do it, but it is also, against human nature.
Yeah.
And it's just going to cause problems. But if it's a case of what do you want to risk more? And in the isolation example, you're wanting to risk average people's mental health to protect the more physically vulnerable. It'd be interesting to see how that shifts based on the amount of time that you're wanting to invest in it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, you could certainly argue that we'll take precautions to save everybody, but at the end of the day, there's going to be some people that is going to be more at risk than others. And it's just if you accept it, fine, okay, cool. But we should save everybody by everybody getting better. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
But sorry, that's me for this week.
That's all right. Just a few things. We did coronavirus so I'll do this one and then that's coronavirus stuff out of the way. A coronavirus patient in India has died after family members visiting him in hospital unplugged his ventilator to plug in an air conditioner.
A decades old tradition of fuck ventilators. We're warm. Oh God. Oh no, that poor family.
So it's
that's such a fuck up.
The thing is, it's on the surface it seems really bad. In actuality, it's kind of tragic. So they unplugged the ventilators have a battery, so they unplugged it and plugged in the air conditioner, and then forgot to plug it back in when they left.
Have you ever accidentally defrosted a freezer? They did that with their dad.
Well, it's it's just it. If you ever on a journey and you're like, did we turn the oven off?
Yeah. Did you turn Dad back on again? There should have been an alarm, right? And there should have been safety precautions.
Well, it's just it.
That family's life is over.
There's no alarms or anything like that until he goes critical, and his heart rate monitor and everything like that starts going off, which is long after they've gone, and
I guess there's lots of beeps anyway, right? If there's a beep for a low battery, it might be similar. But just as bad as it is for the guy, just the family. I mean, one of the things I've had about this whole epidemic thing is I think now it's technically legal for me to visit family.
Yeah.
And you can share, you can become part of another household, right?
Yeah.
So it's legal to go visit people. But it's just a feeling of hey, if just running that risk, and I don't, I've been incredibly, the only breaches I've had is going to the supermarket. Other than that, I've been pretty completely self-isolated, so I don't, no real reason why I'd be I've probably got it. If just the running the risk of potentially infecting a family member, their life would be changed forever.
Yeah.
So unplugging and killing by accident so that you can have an air conditioner, or even if he can have an air conditioner. Just, oh no. The guilt. So much guilt.
Yeah. Yeah.
People getting them rechargeable batteries for Christmas. Remember?
Remember when your son died?
Yeah. Every time your phone goes low on battery, you get daddy issues. Such sad times. But yeah, hey, they had an air conditioner for a bit. It's good.
Yeah, yeah. It was too hot.
Not bad.
A woman dressed as the Cookie Monster was found OD'd behind the wheel of her car after dropping off her kids at daycare. Unpack that.
Before or after, she must have... I think it would be funnier if it was afterwards, because it feels like if you're going to wear the Cookie Monster suit, like, get a full day's worth out of it. No, it was like, this is my secret Cookie Monster suit.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids knowing, like Santa Claus. Like, I don't want them knowing that Cookie Monster's not real. So I'd be like, fuck it, I'll do it. And just quick, and meth.
Yeah.
Oh, no. It's really fucking going for the roleplay. If I could roleplay any character, which one would do the most meth? Cookie Monster. Definitely. Oh, I wonder how quickly it went from great to bad. meth, dead. Or whatever drug it was.
She didn't die, apparently. Like, she was, like, police found her and took her in, and then they pumped her stomach or some shit like that. But she was essentially OD'd.
Oh, okay.
And they've just, like, they haven't really taken the report much further. They've just said police don't know why she was dressed as the Cookie Monster, and that was the end of the report. Not? Yeah, like if you're going to OD, make it in the weirdest way possible. Like always leave him asking questions.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was lots. I think it was heroin, right? Heroin. And LSD brought out some incredible musical creations in history, and so I'm sure that some drugs also, emit Cookie Monster fantasies.
Yeah,
that really change people's minds. Be like, fuck it, let's do this. If you wanted to die, maybe you want to die as Cookie Monster, the living legend.
Yeah.
Making a political point. Maybe she was saying that Sesame Street need to stop using Cookie Monster as a mascot from now on.
Yeah. But I think it was more just an overarching metaphor for addiction. Like
yeah. She was. It was a thought piece. Oh, right, it's fine. Yeah. Any day where you decide to. Although to be fair, I got spooked on Tinder by somebody who. It was spooked, but. I couldn't quite get with the program. People fucking love Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah.
I've never really understood it. I think I tried collecting them as a kid, but I was told that it was evil and it was a waste.
I used to love the games.
Strange parental views about Pokemon cards, it turns out. It's like this is the devil. Okay. Seems odd, but all right.
People used to get into fights at school over the cards
instead. Yeah, I think it was just like the money investment. They're like, oh, you shouldn't pay for these things. Like, okay. But so I never really got Pokemon and never really got the card game. And like, I've done deck building games before. I played Netrunner for quite a while and I went to some tournaments and stuff like that. So I've done like the deck kind of playing games quite well, but stuff like Magic never really got into. So I don't think it's the format. It's just, it's called something. But again, it's adorableness, isn't it? What is it? The Japanese term for adorableness or cuteness is what I think a lot of Pokemon was based upon. Or there's a whole market in Japan that's based off of adorableness, and there's a word for it. I saw it in a video recently.
Probably,
but yeah,
I don't find them adorable though.
Yeah.
It's just a cartoon. Like they're just
that's what they go, Pika Pika.
Yeah,
Pika Pika. And they fucking electrocute things. It's just that's adorableness, people. That's what people love.
Right.
And it's just something I couldn't really get on board. But yeah, there was someone dressed up as a Pokemon, and I was a bit like, "Hey, you afraid of getting caught or something?" It's something about you're gonna, I don't want to see this outside my window. It's just like it's a crazy thing. I can't remember how we got onto Pokemon Tinder dating, but
Cookie Monster.
We got there somehow.
Dressed as
Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so any reason to get dressed up as Cookie Monster, I can get behind. Just not Pokemon. I'm brand loyal. What was that? What was Uncle Ben's originally called? Brand loyal.
Brand rice.
Conglomerated Brand Incorporated.
Yeah. Owned by
Ordinary
Mars.
Van Incorporated. So yeah, respect to the Cookie Monster.
Yeah. A man in Vienna has been fined €500 for farting with intent. in front of a police officer. They didn't say they didn't say intent to what. They just said he was farting with intent.
It was aggressive. It was aimed. It was farted in their general direction.
Yeah. City Police wrote on Twitter that, of course, no one is reported for accidentally letting one go. They added that the man had behaved provocatively and uncooperatively during the encounter with officers that preceded the incident. Said he got up from a park bench, looked at officers, and let go a massive intestinal wind, apparently with full intent, they said, and our colleagues don't like to be farted at so much.
Your Honour, what's the charge? Provocative flatulence? Oh,
well done.
All right. Yeah. And again, you go, okay, I understand this. Yes, no one likes to be what would be a more aggressive term for it? Shit-wind, right? Nobody wants to be shit-winded. You know, it's just it's not great. But you go, well, you have to deal with people with bad breath, right? You don't put them in prison for bad breath.
No,
you just go. It's just unfortunately part of the world.
Yeah,
you can't just arrest them, I guess.
Just farting with intent. Like, intent to what?
That's it. You're under arrest. You're going to prison. Why would you want to put him in your car? You know, it seems like more hassle. You know?
Tied to the roof.
That's it. Yeah.
And finally, this cunt. And finally, a man in the UK is suing a woman he dated for £136,000 for giving him a cold sore. Martin Conway,
cold sores are weird though, man.
Martin Conway, personal trainer and spineless tapeworm, said that he was left traumatized and that his date had a moral and legal duty to warn him that her boo-boo might give him a boo-boo too. As a
they are terrifying though. Ever since I heard a story about because there's two different types of cold sores, and one of them could be part of, is it hepatitis? I think one of the hepatitises.
It's all it's all forms of herpes. Like it's skin lesions. Like it's all forms of herpes. It's just some you get on your mouth, some you get on your genitals, but like none of them are lethal. Like it's
that's the thing that makes it terrifying is that I read a story about a dad gave his newborn baby like a kiss,
right,
and because he had a cold sore it killed the baby,
right.
Like that's the only situation where you go like, obviously that's insane, but it's very 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 rare and it's nothing to react about, but you just go like, to me that's always, it's one of those things in my brain now of like, if I have a kid, just have to, I don't know, get a blood test before I touch it.
Yeah,
just like, because that again, like unplugging your uncle. Like, well, if you kiss your baby to death, it's like, oh no. It's horrific. I sympathise.
I've got no sympathy for this bloke at all. As a result of
enough for that guy.
As a result of his new lifelong condition, he claims it has stopped him from pursuing his dream career as a lawyer, as it's left him too scared to leave his home.
Can't object anymore. Not allowed. Can't. My face is open.
Just
can't be a lawyer anymore.
Too scared to leave his home. What an asshole. He claims he can no longer go cycling, as he worries. He worries.
What if I fall over and something falls inside the cold sore?
He worries that the heat and the stress will cause a flare-up. He's a twat. In total, he's claiming £136,328 in compensation from his date, most of which he claims is to cover fortnightly therapy sessions that he requires until the age of 79, as well as lost earnings. What a cunt.
Like, yeah, definitely. But do you know where in the world this was? I can't remember.
It just said UK. It didn't say where.
It's in the UK as well. Like, we haven't really got that suing culture, really.
No.
So, like, in America, you go like, oh, I can kind of understand it. People are suing because of bleach or, whatever. That's an opportunistic court
but then
careers
you just see,
or whatever.
I saw, there's a picture of the bloke on the article, and it's like, yeah, you're never going to get anything else out of life. So just, do what you need.
No, he's just an ugly guy.
No, not ugly, just pointless. Like, he's just...
The coleslaw was an accessory, if anything. It probably helped.
Yeah.
It gives him a bit more uniqueness.
He's just a wasteful person.
Okay, I mean, I'm not an advocate for cleanliness. Right?
Yeah.
But, like, people being people are very, very, very weird about, clean hygiene and disease, I guess. It's just the world is like before the coronavirus. I've got family members who won't touch handrails or press elevator buttons.
Yeah,
they'll have to do it with like their elbow or a glove or another piece of material to do it.
Yeah,
and it's all in your brain. It doesn't make any sense. You go like, oh well, then you're going to be fine. It goes through. I think I read somewhere that shit can transfer bacteria through 8 layers of tissue paper.
Wow.
So, like. I don't understand. I think 8 layers of tissue paper is probably pretty thick, probably like a little coat. Yeah. Like if you're pushing an elevator button, you're still going to get the bacteria on your finger. It doesn't really make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
It's purely just to make yourself feel better, which is fine. But I can understand maybe some people reacting so negatively towards
you can't be like so, I don't know, fragile. Like you're going to make yourself more ill if you don't expose yourself to this stuff. Because your body just won't know how to cope with it when it inevitably does.
Yeah, I think people are just squeamish or weird. I mean, one thing I realised the other day that you do this.
I do.
Is, because I've never flinched at it, and my dog did it the other day. But when dogs get wet and they shake, and the water goes everywhere, what is it that causes the reaction of like, oh? Is it just the sudden water? Is it not wanting? Yeah,
it's the same thing. I always find it weird. I'm always reluctant to get to kind of get dirty, and I don't. And that's like a natural reaction for me, and I'm not sure exactly why it is. It's like I'm not scared of germs or anything like that, but yeah, I get squeamish about being in the rain and stuff, which is something that you're not bothered about at all. Like
no,
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's a discomfort thing. I don't like going from being very dry to being very wet.
I think it's one of those things as well that gets a larger spectrum over times and experiences. I mean, like everyone you'll probably always have that of I prefer to be clean than dirty. Well, but there'll be like less. Your reaction will change, and
but it's not experiences you have. Like. The thing with the dog, it's not like a bacteria thing. Like I'd never really thought of it like that. It's just being wet.
Just like if it was started to rain briefly.
Yeah.
You're like, ugh,
yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I just love swimming, even if I'm standing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Swimming on concrete. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting week.
Yeah.
Kind of. Kellogg's, Uncle Ben's.
Mm.
the Indian versus Chinese Himalayan punch war.
Yeah.
I knew there was something. I was like, I did read this. I swear, no one's really commented on it. It's like, oh yeah, it's going on. Like, I still think that's a great way to deal with issues. Well, everything's tense. That's basically what they were saying about nuclear arms, wasn't it? What was it? Is it de-escalation? Was disarmament? About like, if we give up our nukes, they'll just nuke us. So mutually assured destruction.
Yeah.
If they've done it with guns, then they can do it with
just
other weapons.
Scale up.
It seems like that's a path forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then if China and India didn't have weapons, then, I don't know, Iran might go mental.
Yeah.
Just Austria will rise again.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
But more people would have died in that scenario if they did have weapons.
Yeah, and there's there's I can understand the argument for armies having guns, right? It's just like, it's just to prevent miscommunication of the most violent kind.
Mm.
Just as a routine, we're at peace. Let's not have guns on us unless something happens where we have to start doing it. And you go like, well, I don't know what's happened out of this Himalayan massacre. I like that they called in reinforcements and they came with no guns.
Yeah.
We're under attack. We're here. Did you bring guns? No. It's not traditional. Yeah, it seems like you would expect it to go so very differently, but the world's a wonderful place in small places.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find something that's beautiful. But yeah, that's our week. I'm at Nick Snip.
I'm at Sing It Steve.
Yeah, we're at Pulling Teeth Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and we're at Pulling Teeth Podcast on Facebook.
Yeah, you can follow us on YouTube if you listen to us on the audio version, and if you're watching us on YouTube, you can listen to us on Spotify and iTunes and all the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got the website, which is www.pullingteethpodcast.com, which has got all of our videos and contact information as well on there. Also, the email address is wisdom@pullingteethpodcast.com if you want to send us any bits to go over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think for this week.
I think that's it. Just wind down, sign off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not that much noise from your neighbour in the end.
No.
Maybe he was genuinely finished.
He was genuinely finished. He said he said to his mate, "I've just put the last coat of the lacquer on, so I think that means it's done. That makes it shiny or something. I don't know. I don't care. I'm just glad he didn't carry on."
I just assumed he was lying to his friend. Like, oh yeah, no, I've done. It's great, and then he'd carry on. But yeah.
No.
Can't all end on a high.
No.